Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Mercy Achang. Welcome to our YouTube channel, CBEC Education and Study Abroad. I'm going to be bringing you our first YouTube video on comparison of the American and Cameroonian system of education. But before we go ahead to do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience, the goals, and what kind of things we're going to be talking here. I have been a teacher in both Cameroon and the United States of America, and I've experienced in the way young people are nurtured. In Cameroon, I taught all ages from toddlers in church through middle, high school, and undergraduates. Those are first year in the university. I taught at Polytechnic at some time. For the past 22 years, that's what I've been doing, as well as research. So my work with these pupils and students has granted me the extensive experience about their learning, opportunities, behaviors, challenges, and how to mitigate these challenges. As a note, parents have only a fraction of time with children, and teachers look after them for 9 months of the year. Even on a daily basis, teachers spend more time with your children than you do actually spend the time. So teachers have a lot more experience about your children. They know them more, they understand them better, sometimes better than the parents. That's sometimes, most of the time, that's what we observe. So my goal is to make my expertise available to the community by answering pertinent questions in the mind of parents and teachers using research findings, life stories, experiences, and biblical examples and parables and teachable moments to meet each need. Every child is different, so we cannot compare children. So each child has a strength and a potential to succeed. So we can deal with that as individual kids. So for me, this is a service to the community and a place where people can feel free to, ask questions about their concerns and get meaningful answers. So why am I doing this? You may ask. Several friends, parents, and former students have been asking me questions about study abroad opportunities. That's from high school, graduate school, what should they do? How should they be preparing? And how can they compare the American system of education to that in Cameroon? How about the culture? What about integrity? And are helping young minds, to develop everything that they will need for this adventure. So I have worked with children for a long time. I'm very passionate about young people and their success. And, I have had so many of my students that are very successful and I'm proud of them. If you're out there and you've been my students, smash the like button and the subscription button on this video and let me know that, you saw this work that we're doing. Ask more questions. So educating yourself can serve as an equalizer of the knowledge gap as well as the wealth gap. So if you want to bridge that gap, education is something that you want to pursue. So it could be formal education, it could be informal education, but those are very important things that you need in your life. So there is a proverb that we say that, you don't stop learning until you get into your grave. So learning is a continuous process. So these are some things that we want to start giving our young people, preparing them to understand, what the system entails. So I'll dive straight into our content, which is comparison of the American and Cameroonian system of education. So this is going to be a 3-part video. Okay, so the first one is going to be the Cameroon system of education. The second one will be the American system of education. And then the last one is going to be a comparison of the American system of education and the Cameroon system of education. So I'll be working with charts. So what's the relationship between Cameroon and America? So we want to look at the location for those who don't know. So right here, we have the world map. So within the world map, so this is the North American continent, the South American continent, this is the African continent. So Cameroon is actually found in Africa. So if you zoom into Africa, like we did zoom in here, right here you have Cameroon, and we can actually zoom into Cameroon. So there is a map of Cameroon showing us where Cameroon is located. a lot of people are asking questions. So what is your culture? What kind of food do you people eat? What is the language? Something I want to remark here is that Cameroon is a bilingual country. We speak both French and English. Hey, bonjour, comment ça va? That's one. Good morning. How are you doing? So that's Cameroon for you. So we speak, there's a French subsystem of education, and there is the English subsystem of education. For those who have done the subsystem of education, please be reminded that a lot of people out here in the world do not understand that Cameroon is a bilingual country. So most of the time, when you look out for admissions, they will ask you to take an English language test. It's just because they do not understand how it works in Cameroon. So remember, Cameroon is a bilingual country. There are many other French countries in Africa that are going to be having some similarities between the French subsystem education in Cameroon, which you can benefit and profit from this information. So right here we have the Cameroon system of education. So what is it like? So this chart, I made this chart to help us understand how the Cameroon subsystem of education is. On the extreme left, we have the levels. So we go from the nursery right up to your PhD or your postdoctoral studies. And then on the extreme right of this chart, we have the ages, the approximate ages of the children. So I would start with each system. Right here, we have the US system, which I will just talk about in passing because we'll get into details about the US system. So we have the US system of education right here. And then we have, this is US, we have pre-K, that's pre-kindergarten. We have kindergarten, and then we have grade 1 through 12. So I'll be telling you how all of this compares. So the first thing that we have, I'll talk about the English subsystem of education. You have the pre-nursery, nursery 1, and nursery 2. When you complete the nursery school, you get into the primary, or what is known as the elementary school. So elementary school, we have class 1, class 2, class 3, right up to class 6. At the end of class 6, you write an examination that ushers you into secondary school. And these are common entrance, that CE stands for common entrance exam or common entrance technical examination. So for those who are going to do general education, they'll take the common entrance examination. Those who do technical education, they'll take the common entrance technical examination. And then there is a certificate that everybody takes, which is your first school leaving certificate. So you actually finish primary school with a first school leaving certificate. So if you move on after you complete primary school in the English subsystem of education, you now go to Form 1. Form 1 is the same. So it's Form 1 grammar or Form 1 technical. So if you're doing technical education, I'm going to talk briefly about that. So right here, you do Form 1 right up to Form 5 for general education. You get to Form 5 for general education and you write what they call the General Certificate of Education Ordinary Level Examination. So that examination will usher you into high school. You need to pass that examination to get into high school. So if you do technical education as an English speaker, then you will need to do another exam, which is known as, when I'm talking about the French system, it's about the same French system in the technical, is the same in the English. But these days we have the technical GCE that I'll also talk about. So right here, you have Form 5, you do the GCE ordinary level. So once you're done with your GCE ordinary level and you pass, a pass will be 4 papers. So when you have 4 papers, you can now go to high school, and lower seed, LS stands for lower seed, which is equivalent to 11th grade in the US. So you do lower seed, and then in upper seed, you're going to take another exam that ushers you into the university, which is the GCE General Certificate of Education Exam Advanced Level. So you take that exam, and once you pass the exam, you can actually have entrance into the university. A note to those of us who are desiring to travel to the US after your advanced level. You need to pass that advanced level, because when you go to the embassy is going to require the advanced level, even though you would have taken some of the exams that allow you to get admissions into the United States. So we'll talk more about that in subsequent videos. So after that, you get to the graduate level. We'll talk about the graduate level at the end. So let's go and look at the French subsystem of education. So with the French subsystem of education, what do you have? We have AM, avant maternelle. So before, like pre-K, which is the same as pre-nursery. So we get to maternelle 1 and then maternelle 2. So that's the same thing. And then we go to cours préparatoire. That's what you call in French, cours élémentaire 1, right up to cours moyen 2. So once you're in cours moyen 2, you have to take another exam in the French system of education, CEP. So when you pass it, you're either going to, you also have technical, you're either going to a technical secondary school, or you're going to go to general education. So if you go to general education, French general education, then you're going to go to what is known as sixième. So sixième is the same as grade 6 or form 1. So from sixième right up to troisième, you're in the French system of education. At that point, the next year, the fourth year, you actually take an exam that is known as BEPC, okay, which is Brevet d'études du premier cycle. So once you pass that exam, it ushers you into their pre-high school. So their pre-high school is what you call seconde. So when you get to seconde, there is still another exam that you have to take, which is known as probatoire. So when you pass your probatoire, you can now go to premiere. Premiere is the same as 11th grade or lower seat. So you have now premiere, terminal. So at terminal, you take bac, which is what? Which is your baccalaureate. So once you pass your baccalaureate in the French system, then you can have access to the university or higher education programs. Again, like I said, a note here, if you plan to travel to the US, you have to start preparing early, and don't think that, oh, you know, I finished high school, I got admission, I can just travel without my bac. So those are different scenarios. We're going to be painting different scenarios, you know, that you can travel to the US and gain access to universities. So if you've completed your primary education or elementary school year, so you look at this here, so this, remember we started with the nursery, we're done with the nursery, go to primary, we finish with primary. So we've looked at the different exams that you have to take from primary. Now you go to secondary. So we've looked at secondary English subsystem of education. We've looked at the secondary French subsystem of education. Now we want to look at the technical school. So there is a technical school that we talk about. So technical school is also sixième. They have what they call sixième, which is Form 1 that we say. Form 1 technical, but it's called technical commercial. So in that, you do commercial and technical subjects. So you do that right up to Form 4, and you take CAP. So there is a CAP, you know, for the Francophones. And for the English subsystem, you can also go up to Form 5 and take the GCE technical exam. So GCE technical is available for those who are in Form 5. And so when you pass your Form 5, you can also go to high school and do technical, and also at the end of the day, you take the GCE technical exams. Or you can follow the probatoire system, you know, with the French people, where you pass you go from CAP, you know, you go to seconde, you do your probatoire. When you pass your probatoire, you can now go to premiere, which is lower seat, and terminal. Premiere and terminal, you have to take again your exam. Bac technique, they call that bac technique for the French people. Then we'll call it GCE technical. So the French people will take bac technique, and then the English people will take GCE technical. So once we are done with high school and you've passed your bac, your GCE advanced level, whether general, technical, or commercial, then you have access to higher education. So now with higher education, I'm just going to talk about the different available steps or the ladder in higher education. So you can either go to do a diploma program, whereby you can end up with an HND. Some diploma HND programs can be 2-3 years, depending on the prescription from the Ministry of Higher Education. So you need to watch out for that. And you can also go finish that and go to the university and complete with your bachelor's degree. Another thing that you could do after your advanced level is just go straight and do technical education. Just go straight, do technical education, the technical university, you do a technical college where you learn how to teach and more of technical, and then you can go back and help. Or you go general and you do a bachelor's degree in your option. So those are the possibilities that you have. Or you can go to a professional school. So professional schools, you can have medical schools, teaching schools, forestry. So there are different professional schools that you can go to, but you have that option to go to a professional school. And all of these after you have had your advanced level. So the professional schools, most of our professional schools, before you go to the master's level, you will need to complete your bachelor's degree. So once you have your bachelor's degree, you can go ahead and do a postgraduate studies. So there are postgraduate studies that are available. So with your postgraduate studies, you can do a postgraduate, there are postgraduate studies for 1 year, postgraduate studies for 2 years, and then you can also go to other professional schools. There are professional schools that you can go to, you can only attend those professional schools after your bachelor's degree. So beware of that. And then you also have masters. You can just go ahead and do a master's degree, a master's 1, master's 2, and then you defend a thesis. Or you can do a master's, and you don't defend a thesis, and that's it. So once you have your master's that you've defended your thesis, then you have the possibility of doing a doctorate degree. All of this is based upon your performance. So don't just think that you will not study, you will just have any grade, any kind of score, and you'll be able to do a doctorate degree. So once you're done with that, you can get to your doctorate studies, and then with your doctorate studies, you can now go and do your postdoctoral studies. So all of these, we'll talk about each of them in detail in subsequent videos. So in a nutshell, this is how the Cameroon system of education looks like. A lot of people don't understand how it works because there's no such chart that somebody has made. So I made this chart specifically knowing that it's going to be answering a lot of people's questions, about Cameroon system of education. What is it? What is the equivalence? So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you how the US system of education works. And then once you understand how the US system of education works, what's the next thing you're going to do? You need to compare them. And then you need to start asking yourself questions. What can I do to study in the US system of education? Okay, so you can ask yourself those questions. How soon do I need to start preparing? We would answer those questions. And if there are questions that are burning in your heart, you can always, just email, write, comment on this YouTube video, and we'll be able to answer your question. Again, if you like the content of this video, if you like what we've shared so far today, then you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then you also, so that if there is any new video that comes up, then you will be notified. So I just want to thank you all for taking time to watch this. Let me know, in the comment section what you think about this video. Thank you, viewers. And again, welcome to CBEC Education and Study Abroad channel.